It's 3DS time! Not to be confused with 3DO. Yes, this is Nintendo's attempt to bring the gimmickry of 3D to the masses without you having to wear glasses that make you look like the third Ronnie. Yeah, and it's actually Nintendo's second attempt at a handheld 3D thingy. Well, I call the Virtual Boy handheld, it was more tabletop, I think, to put it politely. It was like a big red pair of goggles that you stuck your face into. It weren't released in the UK, but I actually got one imported for incredibly cheap. I thought, why is it so cheap? I'll tell you why the Virtual Boy was so cheap. Because it made everybody who played it sick after about 30 minutes, or 15 minutes if they were unlucky. It also gave some people who tried it horrifying headaches in my experience. So anyway, fortunately Nintendo have sort of put that behind them and not mentioned it for many years, and have instead come out with something you can watch in 3D that doesn't make you chuck your guts up all over it. Okay, quick look at the box. Two relevant things really. First is Peggy 7. Who sounds like a robot companion from the future, but is in fact something saying don't give this to kids under the age of 7. The reason being apparently their eyes haven't fully developed at age 6. And in fact, let's read the warning, that'll tell us. The use of the 3D feature by children aged 6 and under may cause vision damage. Yeah, so don't give it to very young kids or it'll, I don't know, make their optic nerves catch fire or something. Also of interest, software compatible with this system. 3DS, yes. DSi software, yes. Game Boy Advance software, no. So pretty much as we expect, really. I mean, there's not even a slot for the Game Boy Advance, much like there wasn't with the DSi. Okay, then, let's see what they give us for our money. Oh, that shouldn't be on top. Somebody's been at this. Been wanting to play with the 3D. Well, you get a free charging cradle dock thing that you can leave on your desk plugged in, and then put your DS in and it charges. Do I really need to explain this? I think not. Uninteresting gumph, including a chance to join their crappy points Nintendo Stars scheme. Let me tell you about my Nintendo Stars scheme experience. I saved up loads and loads over the years, then all of a sudden they just cancelled them all, because actually I don't know why. Possibly because they're Satan. Never did work that one out. Anyway, enough about my horrifying losses. Let's see what else is in the box. Mains adapter, yeah, same as the DSi one. And, funnily enough, a 3DS, which looks something a bit like this. No, not the bag. Yeah, there we are. It's in Cosmo Black, named, of course, after popular British celebrity James Cosmo. Two of those there cameras, yep, so we can take pictures in 3D. On the back we've got button, another button. These are called shoulder buttons and I am patronising you. Yep, there's your thing for plugging it in. It's also where the dock connector connects to it, obviously. You've got a slot for any 3DS, DS or DSi games you may want to ram into it. Ooh, Stylus. I'd forgotten about these. We're so used to capacitive touchscreens these days. Look at that. It extends, so it's a bit longer. Marvellous. What else we got? It was an SD card slot and a volume switch. And surprisingly, they actually give you an SD card of almost decent capacity free. Look, 2GB Toshiba one. Wow. Thanks, lads. Literally everything you need to get going. Well, except a proper game, but there's some stuff preloaded we'll come to later. A wireless connection switch, so you can connect it to your wireless network at home and it can get lots of firmware updates to stop you pirating games like an Evilton. The 3D switch, oh yeah, that's the important one, we'll come on to that. A headphone socket, bizarrely in the middle. I don't know why, I'm not used to seeing headphone sockets in the middle. It just looks odd. A bit like when you see a car with a middle exhaust. Anyway, LED that tells you if it's turned on, LED that tells you if it's plugged, blah blah blah, oh who cares. Let's flip the mighty thing open. You'll notice large semi-wide screen at the top. You'll also notice fairly standard screen at the bottom. And of course, the big difference everybody's excited about, the select button and the home, no, not that one, the analog thing. It's a thing, it kind of moves analog. I'm sure you know how these things work. At first glance, looks a lot like the PSP one. However, I can tell you from experience, it's a lot better than the PSP one. This is actually a really nice little control thing. Possibly my second favourite controller on a handheld. My first being the multi-clicky, micro-switchy joysticky thing, I've got no idea what it was actually called, on the Neo Geo Pocket Color, which was fantastic, especially for playing fighting games. Anyway, that's completely irrelevant. More relevant, there's a little nasty D-pad, which is considerably better than the previous DS ones, although still not great. I don't know what it is about manufacturers these days. Nobody seems to be able to make a decent D-pad anymore, not even for sort of proper consoles. Maybe all the good ones were made by one man who died in a boating accident or something. No idea. Right, your 4 buttons as usual, and you've got some really quite nasty feeling, actually, clicky home, select, start things at the bottom. I've only had some other DSs to compare it to. Oh wait, I do! Look, here's my girlfriend's DS Lite. You could probably guess it was my girlfriend's from the colour. As you can see, not massively different. Bottom screen slightly larger, top screen much larger. And there's an analogue thing. Fairly simple. And oh look, here's a DSi. Yes, somebody actually bought one. Bottom screen appears to be about the same. In fact, slightly larger on the DSi, perhaps. Should have measured that. Nope, they're the same, actually, I think. Well, that was a pointless comparison. Why is this such a horrible red colour? Anyway, back to the 3DS itself. I suppose we're going to have to turn it on at some stage. I've forgotten how. Oh yeah, we have a power button on the front. Why isn't it on the side? So many years of scratching to turn it on. It takes a little while to start up. LED comes on. Screens go light. You can see my face. No, you can't. There we go. Right, I've got the 3D completely turned off for the obvious reason of this isn't a 3D camcorder, and you're probably not watching it on a Magic 3D YouTube, which doesn't yet exist. If you are, well done. Can you give me next week's lottery numbers whilst you're time travelling? Okay, we're going to have to talk about the 3D, aren't we? Because that's kind of the main point. And I'm going to have to be quite wordy about it because I can't visually show it to you. Right, 3D on. That's probably made very little difference to you at home, just made it look a bit weird. Oh yeah, I can see that in Magic 3D though. It's like there's a record floating behind some text. Welcome to the future. Yeah, right, 3D effect. It's very good, basically. Hold it in front of your face, it's at the right sort of angle, it looks very 3D. You can alter how 3D it is by this bizarre flattening switch. There we are, 2D, a little bit 3D, quite 3D, massively 3D. Different people have different comfort levels. I find mine, if I put mine about there, just under the top, that sort of gives a good 3D effect without actually making it hurt my eyes too much over a period. The actual 3D itself is far better than what you see at the cinema, in my book anyway. The cinema stuff is kind of a stilted parallax effect, where you feel like there's sort of certain layers, and very rarely does it look properly 3D, whereas this is kind of proper 3D all the time, and does look very impressive as a result. Is it just a gimmick which isn't carried over into the games? Well, yes, so far. In fact, I can't really see how they would massively use it in the game. Does it hurt your eyes after a time? Yes, it does. In fact, we did a bit of a straw poll on the 4 people who've had access to 3DSs that I've been seeing over the weekend. Of them, I actually get on with it the best. I'm absolutely fine for it. I can play it in 3D for about an hour or so, in fact, before my eyes get tired. I don't feel nauseous, don't feel headachy or anything. I am quite good with things like this in general, but yeah, it's fine. But after a while you do kind of want to turn the 3D off and just play the game normally, to be honest with you, because it does tire your eyes. They're doing twice the work of looking at a screen, I suppose. The other 3 people didn't get on as well. One of them gets motion sickness after about 30 minutes. Another one gets nauseous after about 3/4 of an hour and their eyes hurt. And the 4th person can't see the 3D at all. They have a slight problem with depth perception and they can't see 3D at the cinema or this. So it wouldn't be a good purchase for them. And apparently something like 20% of the population can't see these 3D effects properly, or it just makes them really ill or sick immediately. Something I didn't realise, and could be from a flawed survey, so don't take it on spec. Right. That's the 3D then. We'll turn it off, the rest of this, because it's absolutely pointless on the camcorder. Right, what do they give you? They give you Nintendo 3DS camera. Taking 3D photos that you can look at in 3D. I was quite excited by this, because it's not something I've ever been able to do. You can sort of fudge things with those crappy red and cyan glasses, but it ain't the same. Right, I happen to have some... there we are. Now, we've just hit one of the major problems of this. just not used to using touchscreens with a stylus anymore. Every time I'm going, I mean, it kind of works because that was a big button, but it's not capacitive like we're used to on the iPhones and every other device in the world. And getting the stylus out now is a real chore, just because we're not used to it and we're lazy. Oh, well, I've taken a load of interesting photos. I've just realised on somebody else's 3DS. So we've only got the one on this. There we are. It is a fuzzy picture of the dog. And it's not very impressive, frankly. Even if I 3D it up for my own eye effect there, yeah, it's still not massively impressive. Obviously, there's not much depth of field in that. If you take a sort of picture of outside or something where objects are far farther away, it looks a bit better. But to be honest, it's shite, really, because as you can probably see, quality is as grainy as all arseholes, even in perfect conditions outside, because it was a very sunny day Friday. It was really unimpressive, which is a bit of a disappointment. I wasn't expecting sort of fantastic David Bailey style super duper shots and, you know, ultra realistic 3D. My God, it's like I'm really there. But this is like two really old mobile phone cameras taped together, frankly, and is not impressive as a result. Bit of fun, though, to take things in 3D and show your gran, and then she says, oh, look, I can sort of see the 3D, and then everyone laughs, and then you wish you'd spent your money on something else. Right, let's go home. Actually, here's another annoying thing. Whenever you go to the home, it says suspended software, and you can then go in and, you know, go back to that software. But if you try and do anything else, it quits it, so I don't know why it makes such a big point of telling you it's suspended when you can't really do anything with it. 3DS sound. Let's go back to that for a second. Something I should mention, actually. Let me shove the old 3D up to max. There is a certain angle and distance. You have to hold this from your face to see the 3D. Put it in my preferred setting there. I shall now move it round and tell you when I can't see it in 3D anymore. Ready? Not 3D. 3D, 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 not 3D, 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 oh, getting quite far this way, 3D, 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 still 3D, 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 oh, not 3D. So basically, you've got quite a lot of movement in that area, but you can't turn it left or right much. And that is something, I did have it sort of annoy my arms after a period when I was playing a game for a while on it. It's not massively uncomfortable, but, you know, make sure you're sitting well if you're going to be playing 3D, because you can't move it far, which becomes a bit of a pain in the arse when you're playing the augmented reality games where you flip it round, but I'll show you those in a minute. Off. Go on then, we've got all the Miis. As popular as they were on the Wii, they're now popular on been stretched over, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure you can work it out. It seems to have the same sort of functions as the one on the Wii, but I don't know, it didn't seem to work quite as well when moving the parts of the face around. Let's go ahead and show you. Yes, yes, we don't care. Tap it with my fingernail. Let's drag this up a bit. Bum, 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 bum. Me. There I am. Let's view me. Yes, yes. That's about as exciting as it gets here, really. All people ever really used this for was to make cruel caricatures of their family and then make things that looked a bit like a stormtrooper or David Platt from Coronation Street. Right, home, James. Street Pass Me Plaza. This is this weird Street Pass thing where if you keep it, your 3DS closed in your pocket, it communicates with other 3DSs nearby and takes Miis and things that I don't care about things like that. It's more a sort of kiddie collect 'em up thing. We really care. Oh yeah, augmented reality games. We'll come on to those in a minute because they involve pissing about with the camera. Face Raiders. This is another augmented reality game and quite a nicely done one. Activity, I don't care what I'm doing. Oh, it's got boring now. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Far more exciting. Wait for it. You can make notes while you're playing a game. You can slip out to the home page and then go in and make some notes. And, you know, if you're playing a new Castlevania, you can say, don't get that weapon before the other one, or whatever. So basically, it's like a sheet of paper, only 1,000 times more fiddly. I don't know what this is. Friend list. I have no friends. That was short and depressing. Next, what is, I can't remember what this one is. Notifications, oh yeah, this is when it tells you you've been bad or whatever. how to brightness adjust. There's a recommended update, touch and slide, use Nintendo DS, blah, blah, blah. Removing SD cards. If you can't work out how to remove an SD card from the side, you probably haven't been able to open the box. And this is the last exciting one, web browser. The joys of early adoption. Brilliant. So, I presume it'll end up being quite similar to the one from the DSi, but in 3D! Well, probably not. Right then, let's go and have a look at these built-in augmented reality games, shall we? The interesting thing about these are they're really just a bit of fun sort of tech demo, but it's exactly what you need to actually show off the 3D, which I presume would be the reason anybody would buy one of these on release, because as ever, launch titles aren't fantastic, but we'll come to that later. Right, augmented reality. I've got the camcorder in one hand and the 3DS in another. What could possibly go right? I've also had to set up a studio light because the 3DS cameras are so poor that you basically couldn't see anything inside. Right, we're massively overlit. We've got our cards ready, for cards are indeed what you need. As you can see on this handy getting started screen, the 6 AR cards above are included with the system. Interesting point is that we're now going to go into a sort of tutorial mode for learning about this augmented reality game. The slight weakness is that after you've completed it, you get to a menu screen which lets you do all sorts of other things. Except, unbelievably, every single time I've done this, it never seems to register the fact that I've completed the tutorial and always dumps me back at the start of it. And I never get to see the menu again until I've played through it again. Very irritating. Anyway, let's see what else. Take out the question mark card, already done that. Place it on a flat surface. Yeah, it's on the sofa. Give it a well-lit area. Well, I've got a bloody great studio light trained down. It don't get much more well-lit than that, old son. Right, just about 35 centimetres and 30 degrees. Right, let's see how we go. Oh, there we are. Let's find it. Hey! 35 centimetres away. Oh, not too far. Oop, let's shift it in a bit. There we are. And now, something magic happens. It's a little box. And if we move around, you can sort of see in horrible wobbly vision that it all looks like it's really there. If the actual camera in the 3DS was better, this would be amazing. As it is, it's still pretty cool. Shoot! Haha! Take that, you box-shaped swine. Now what's he doing? Oh, he's flown away. Well, it happens. No, he's brought his mates. Oh, great. Shoot! Where's the cool bit? Come on. Don't you turn your back on me. He's wrecked the sofa! Well, further wrecked the sofa. And look! You now get to shoot all sorts of other little targets. There's even one down a hole there. How nifty is that? Ooh, first try. Anyway, I'm sure you get the idea. There's lots of little posh things like this. Also, there are some cards with characters on, like Mario and Link and other such Nintendo faves. And after you've got past the interminable bloody tutorial stage it never remembers you've passed, not that that annoys me at all, you can put those down as well, and it shows a little 3D effigy of your favourite Nintendo swine. And you can then take photos of it at funny angles and all that kind of thing. Except it's never quite made it gels with the background, because of course background is a bit blurry because it's from the camera, to say the least. Okay, let's have a look at the other game, what it comes with like. The next game is all about shooting flying faces. The faces of anyone whose face you can get in front of the camera. This is the posh camera on the front, which doesn't do 3D but does look rather better than the other one. Okay, is this face okay? Not really, but I am stuck with it. Another irritating point of this, I should mention, is that, again, it doesn't seem to save any progress of what you've done last time, so you always have to go through the same thing. You can't, seem to load in a previously made face, because it just forgets you've ever played it before. Don't really know why that's happening. Perhaps it's something I'm doing wrong. I don't care. Confirm. Analysing. Man, well done. Was it the beard that gave it away? That's just frightening. Right. Let's go and shoot that face down, shall we? There's one up here, apparently. I'm not joking. Haha, look at that. I hit it with a tennis ball. If you're careful, you can hit them in the mouth, and I think that gives you extra points. There we are. Oh, one right up high. Don't make me move it too far, my arms hurt already. Oh. If you haven't got motion sickness yet at home, then I'm very, very surprised. I'm just trying to kiss me, that's a bit frightening. Go on, do the clever thing with the wall. There we are. They start bursting through the wall and the holes sort of stay in the wall when you look back, which is very nice. Actually, this is a lot of fun in its way. You really are just waving the 3DS around and shooting and doing all the obvious. Let's put that down for a second, because it is getting a bit scary. Yeah, it's a nice thing. In fact, to be honest, I've probably spent more time playing that over the last 3 days than I have any of the official games, which is a bit frightening in and of itself. And something else has just occurred to me. We got this 3DS actually before America, didn't we? Very, very rare we get a console release before. God, I remember back in the 90s when we'd be waiting 6 months for a console after America had it, and ours would only run at 80% of the speed and be covered in cat shit. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Back to 3DS. Something else we should check out. What does it play old DS software like? And probably DSi software, although I don't think I've ever met anyone who's bought a DSi-only game. I can't even think of any. Ghost Trick, is that DSi? I don't know. I haven't played it. Anyway, let's grab whatever's in here, which is Super Mario 64 DS. Pop it in there. And there we go. Open. Yes, takes a while to start them. Feels a bit of a backward step, that. You've just spent a load on hardware and now your games take longer to load. But they look fine once they're up and running. It looks slightly better on the DSi screen, I think, because, I don't know, for some sort of resolution thing. There's also some way to blow it up so it looks horrible, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. But yeah, there's a lot of sort of complaining on the internet about DS games looking rubbish on the 3DS. It's not really true. They look fine, to be brutally honest with you. Don't see the problem. Right, let's talk about some other things, shall we? And these other things will be the games that are out for it. I was too mean to buy any of them myself. I just played other people, so I will now tell you what they were like. Graphics-wise, huge step up from the DS, but that's not saying a lot. I think 3D graphics on the DS are probably the worst I've ever seen on any home console. I can't think of anything that looked worse. Even early Saturn games generally looked a bit sort of more together than 3D did on the DS, with its big chunky lines and horrible non-anti-alias pixelated nastiness. Yeah, as you can probably tell, didn't like the 3D on the DS very much, but it's far, far improved this time round. Still doesn't look quite as pretty as the old PSP gets to, but, well, it's so much better than it was previously, I'm not going to complain. Right, what games did I play then? First up, we played Rayman 3D, which is actually a remake of Rayman 2, which is a 12-year-old game. I think it was out on the PS1, wasn't it? It was a Dreamcast version, possibly Nintendo 64. Don't know, couldn't be bothered to look it up. But yeah, the 3D worked quite well, but it's, you know, a 12-year-old game that I didn't think was very good at the time, so arseholes to that, frankly. Super Street Fighter 4, well, this is a difficult one. It's a really nice version, and the analog device on there, actually, worked surprisingly well for doing the moves and things, give you a nice degree of control. Less good is that you could touch the touchscreen to do super moves, which well, not only feels a bit cheaty, but means you have to sort of take your fingers off the controls, which is never good in the middle of a sort of action game. But, yeah, it looks pretty. It's got some stupid extra behind-the-shoulder angles trying to show off the 3D, which is completely pointless. When you're concentrating on the action, you can't really see the 3D in the normal mode, so you may as well just turn it off, to be brutally honest with you. I don't know, I'm a bit snobby about this. I like my Street Fighter, and if I'm not playing it with a sort of proper clicky arcade stick, then it can bugger off as far as I'm concerned. But it's far better than something like the slightly unpleasant iPhone version. Well, being a bit unfair to the iPhone version, there was an excellent, you know, way of getting it on there, but when you've got these virtual control sticks with zero tactile feedback and half the moves are missing, and, you know, it's not really a game anyone would want to play, is it? Anyway, enough of that, because it's irrelevant to this machine. Let's talk about Super Monkey Ball 3D, which is Super Monkey Ball again. It really is. I'd never played much Super Monkey Ball, so I had some quite good fun with this, but the other people had, and they weren't so impressed. It's just the same thing over and over again. Something very depressing about it is that, well, it's a bit crippled, frankly. The 3D on it is excellent. I think the 3D in that added more to the game than to any others I played. And also, you can use the tilt controls built into this thing to actually, tilt the device and control the monkey, which was a lot more fun than using the control pad. Big problem, though, you can't really have 3D and the tilt controls at the same time, because, of course, you've got a very shallow range of movement while it stays 3D. And if you're going like that, suddenly you can't see the bloody graphics. So that kind of crippled that for me. That would have been the best, I think, if you could have the 3D and the tilt at the same time, but no cake and eating it too. Now, the next game is the one I was most excited about, as it's turn-based strategy, which is a genre I love. It's a Tom Clancy thing called Shadow Wars. And I didn't get to play it because nobody had bought it. I was very disappointed. But somebody had bought Nintendogs, which is Nintendogs again in 3D and with cats. And apparently they've moved some of the icons around. Yeah, thanks, lads. Probably the best game in itself was Lego Star Wars 3, which is, well, as you'd expect, another Lego Star Wars game, but is pretty excellent and fun, as all the Lego Star Wars games have been. Big downside, though, it's not really a portable game, if you know what I mean. It's something you want to spend quite some time playing, and, you end up turning the 3D off because your eyes get a bit tired. And then you're playing it and you're thinking, why am I playing this on a tiny screen held in front of my face when I could be playing it on a proper console? It's just one of those things. It's sort of one of those problems with the PSP, that they never quite got into the whole ethos of mobile gaming, which I think is why the iOS is now eating that sort of thing alive. Because you felt like you had to actually plan time to play it, whereas a handheld thing is more of a pick up and play when you're on the move, isn't it? But anyway, it's a really good game, but probably no reason you would want to play it unless you don't own another console. There was a car racing game. It wasn't Ridge Racer, it was the other one. Asphalt, probably Asphalt 3D, because most of them have 3D in the title. That was really bad. The 3D effect was quite nice, but more to the way it's programmed than anything, cars just appear out of nowhere and go woof, bang, straight into you. And you have to turn the 3D off to get any chance of actually spotting them in the distance. And it's really ugly. It's a very not pretty game. It looks sort of rushed for release, to be brutally honest with you. And it's one of the worst offenders I've ever seen for opponents' cars looking like they're floating above the road, which is unforgivable. Pilotwings Resort was the last one, which I didn't get to play, right? And it's one of the ones I was looking forward to. The chap who had it had lent it out the day after he'd bought it. Why have you lent out a game you've just bought, I asked. Answer, because I've completed it. Yeah, little bit short, shall we say, almost entirely content-free. In fact, he described it as a tech demo that cost me 30 quid, so that's probably a nice one to rent or wait until it's very cheap. So that's the 3DS, and some vaguely related stuff. Is it worth buying one already? Of course not, you idiot. There's only a launch lineup of games which aren't very good and you can get better elsewhere. The only real use for it at the moment is to show off the 3D to people and make them go, ooh. If that's worth a lot of money to you, then this is the best way of doing it by far. But yeah, wait for it to bed in, folks, as often we say, because you're going to have to wait for decent games, I think. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, because, it's a games console.
Oi, do you remember Press Start, the full-length video game parody movie that was actually funny? Well, now there's a sequel called Press Start to Continue. This time it's got my voice in it a bit, so it must be even better than the first one. Anyway, click on the thing to watch the trailer. Then buy a copy of the DVD. Then call your mother. She's lonely.